And before I start on the exterior, I did another round of insulation actually in between here. And so you can see I've edited the profiles so that they're actually above the header and below the sill because they're inside the framing. I've also done one over here. I'm going to show one more. I'm going to edit in place, click on it, edit extrusion, and I'm first just going to start by splitting some things because I know I'm going to need to change this, and this. And now I'm just going to draw some lines. So I know I need to have it fully enclosed between the king stud and the regular stud. And I know I need to enclose this underneath the sill and also above the header. And now the header gets a little weird. And I'm not actually above, so let me just do that again. Header gets a little weird because we've got this change here. So I'm going to do some trims first and then I'll move that over. So I know this comes to here, just click on join elements. Then I know this is staying with this. Alright, so I've got those taken care of. Now I'm going to trim this. And now I'm going to have to draw one more line just to close this up. Alright, so now I have stuff that keeps insulation. It's in between all our wood framing. It stops above the top plate, or bottom plate, and stops below the top plate. And we're good to go. So I didn't show all this because it's the exact same process. I chose again because I knew I was going to have to edit the window opening. Instead of drawing my profile from above, I drew it from the side. You can see if I hit tab here, and that's the inside insulation. That's the one that's on the inside wall that goes floor to ceiling. So what about our rain screen and our clapboard siding? I am going to do the same thing for the rain screen. I'm first just going to drop a beam in that is a 1x2, a column, because I don't want to have to be dragging shape handles here. I want to use my levels. But before any of that, we still have an exposed rim joist and sill plate. So I'm going to highlight our part here. I'm going to turn on shape handles. And I'm just going to come to my west view. And it's not showing because I don't have, it's fine. I don't have parts on for that level. So I'm just going to drag that down. I'm going to do the same for this air gap. I'm going to turn on the shape handles and drag it down just to have a sense. Especially if you're going to do a beam system and then just edit these three, you're definitely going to want to draw it within this. I don't necessarily even need this because I'm doing it a different way. So I'm going to come into my wall top view. I'm going to do something similar here where I just first get the right thing, find the original, get it lined up. And do I even, I thought I had parts visible here, but I'm not seeing very much detail. So if I come into structure and I go into column, My smallest column currently is a 2x4. So I need to make a 1x2. So I'm going to edit it. I'm going to duplicate it. Call it a 1x2. And now this dimension stays the same. But the gap between our sheathing and our siding is only 3/4 of an inch. And now I want it to go with this orientation. And I already know it's lined up that way. What I don't know is where it is in relation to the sheathing. So I'm going to click on this one again. And I'm going to say it goes from base level of retaining wall top, and it goes all the way up to wall top. I'm going to click apply. Let's see how that looks in 3D. So yeah, that is currently buried in here. I need to go to wireframe, go to the top view, and now I want to move that out here. So I'm just going to say move. I'm going to grab the back of it and slide it over. That's fine. I'm going to unjoin them. Whoa. My web joist moved along with it. Not ideal, but that's all right. I'll fix that. All right, hang on a second here. I'm not sure why it's currently attached to it in the first place. So let me redrop that somewhere else. I'm going to do it instead. I'm going to go ahead and do it. See if it'll let me do it from the 3D view. If not, I'll figure something else out. I'm going to say structure, column, great, level, first floor. I'm going to go ahead and say wall top. I'm going to rotate it now by hitting spacebar. I know I'm aligned because I keep seeing that dashed line. And I'm just going to drop it here for now. At least I won't be attached to my web joist anymore. So I'm going to say it goes from retaining wall top floor, goes to wall top. Let's click apply. Let's see, other than distance from, yeah, okay, cool. We're going all the way down. We're going all the way up. Now I just need to nudge it back a tiny bit. So I'm going to say move. And now I can make another array of 21. I gotta say 21. I'm going to my second, so I'm just coming up 2 feet. All right. Now I just have to split these 3. And again, where I split them will decide whether they're closer to the header or the sill. Doesn't really matter. So now this one is going to go up to the sill with no offset. And This one chose header, so I got to say sill, 0 offset. Opposite here. Going to come from the window header with no offset to the wall top. Alright, the only thing that's left at this point is our, well, for the main wall, we'll deal with all this next week, is our siding. So I'm going to come to my south elevation. I'm going to start up at the top, and here's our sheathing, here's where our furring strips are. I don't want to see this because that's where I'm drawing. So I'm going to hide the wall, and I'm going to hide this part where they go. Now I'm going to come into component model in place. It's still part of a wall. Don't know how my caps lock came on. That's all right. It's going to be another extrusion. I'm going to pick I'll just pick this part shape handle for now. And I'm going to do a negative 40 feet 6 inches. I think that's what my dimensions are. And I'm going to change this to softwood. So I want to make sure chain is off to start. And if you look at different siding websites, there's different dimensions depending on the manufacturer. But in general, you've got kind of a wedge shape. So the top will only be a ½ inch. It might be 11 inches long. And then down at the bottom, it would come out maybe 3/4 of an inch. And then it would taper back. And there's usually a rabbet cut out here so that you can have some overlap. So before I finish this, rather than try and guess what that is and then copy one down and find out if the angle's off, I am going to hover over one, click tab so I get the full chain. I'm going to say copy. I'm going to come straight down, and this time I'm going to give myself a ½ inch overlap. And now it's going to give you this message, and that's fine because we're going to clean it up in a second anyway. So I'm going to use trim, and I'm going to keep this and this, keep this and this, and now all the rest of this I'm going to delete. I want to say OK. I want to edit the work plane because we're going to move things around, so I just want to disassociate it. And before I finish it, I'm going to take a look in 3D. And I don't want to make an entire wall that's one single component model in place, because the problem if you do that, once you get to this window opening, it's an absolute nightmare to edit. So this is where I want it. I'm going to click OK. And now I have a single board. I can come back to my south elevation and start copying. Don't know how many, so I can't really do an array. I just need to go until I at least cover that rim joist and sill plate so that nobody's looking at that when they walk by the house. 2 more should do it. Yeah, and you can see I come just past. All right, now once again we have covered our opening. It's kind of a back and forth process. I am gonna come into my west view and I'm gonna pick whichever one first covers it. So that would be this one. And it doesn't matter, I'm gonna want at least one on either side. So I'm gonna start with these. So I'll do the first 3 to the right side, but then I want to make sure I have, what the heck did I? Oh, I missed one, that's fine. Pick this. Yeah, this will probably be easier to do from 3D. I'm going to go back to my west elevation to use the snap or line tool, I should say, because it's not ideal to try and do this from 3D. So now I got 1, 2, 3, 4 over here and 1 over here. I'm going to come back to my west. I'm going to make my life easier by getting rid of this wireframe, and now I know exactly where my edge is. I can use a line. Did I pick the wrong thing? I think I did. What is happening here? That's my rectangular opening. Okay. That one's working fine. And actually, yeah, I'd have a huge gap here. So I'm going to actually keep that one all the way over. And we'll use cut geometry to make sure that fits. All right, I need to now copy one of these down once. So I'm going to come back to my south and copy it just once on this side. Alright, now I'm going to pick this one that's the correct dimension. I'm going to open up my north elevation. And I'm going to copy it up 3 times. And I'm going to grab it from the bottom this time. Let me double check my 3D view. All right. So we have some kind of razor thin overlap here on this one with the wall opening, and a much more significant overlap here. I'm going to come back into my west elevation. I'm going to go back to wireframe so that I can see where that opening is. And now I'm going to make another component model in place. Oop. I'm going to make sure it's wall. Sometimes you can get a generic model to work, but generally speaking, if you have the same category and you're trying to cut geometry, it's going to work out a lot better for you. So it's going to be an extrusion. I'm going to pick a plane. I'm going to pick the actual wall opening as my plane. And I've tried this as a void extrusion and had mixed results. So I'm going to keep this as a regular solid object for now. And I'm going to change this to something like 2 feet. I can use the shape handles later. I don't really care what it's made out of, but to make it visually different, I'm going to go ahead and just make it a default wall. So now I'm just going to use pick lines. And I want to make sure down here I'm getting the edge of my wall opening. You can see it's not very far below, but it's far enough that it'll make a difference later when we're doing our window. Click OK. Now I'm going to come into my first floor view and see, yeah, we're not coming all the way through. So I'm going to come all the way through. I'm going to finish this. Now if I come to my west and I go back to hidden line, now I'm going to use cut geometry. So I'm going to say cut geometry. I'm going to pick first this one that cuts through and then here. And now you can see if I hover over it, that profile has changed. I'm going to do the same thing down here. I'm going to say cut. I'm going to pick this bottom clapboard. And I'm going to pick this shape. And if I hover, you can see a tiny little notch at the edge. It's really hard to see. Alright, now I am gonna, so if I delete this, everything gets back to normal. So what I'm gonna do instead, I can either hide it in view or I can edit in place. And now if I change this from a solid to a void, click apply, finish. You know what? I'm not even going to mess around. I'm just going to hide it in view. And that is it for this first week. Next week we will create a window from scratch in here. And then once that's completely done, we'll copy this up to the second floor and make some decisions about the roof.